Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Ryan here, and today I want to talk to you about a video. I think I'm going to play it. It happened today. Wasn't a big deal, but it's got me kind of curious because I'm just a curious person. So we were sitting and having ice cream. Well, we just finished eating at Fuddruckers, which is a burger place, if you're not familiar with it. And I was sitting with my family, my three kids and my wife, sitting at a bench. And this guy just starts screaming at this dude that I guess he almost hit him or something or drove up to him. And it was sort of weird, right? I'll play the video right now.
No, you're fine, you're fine. But we're holding up traffic. You're a good man. Thank you.
And you can kind of see like what's sort of happening is that he later on apologizes, which is sort of odd, which is good, you know. The reason why I want to talk about it was my wife is like, "You're still on this?" Like she just texted me. But I find it interesting how I respond to things. Like sometimes, when there's a threat nearby, because there's lots of aggression in his voice, right? And he's really upset. He's cursing, and it kind of reminds me of a video I made a little while ago that got a fair amount of attention, at least within my small channel here, when I started cursing a ton, right? And I actually was watching that video. It's called Dislikes, I think it is, and I watched it, and man, it got me. It kind of it picked me up, right? It was like got me kind of mad, right? It's interesting how we can feel each other's aggression, and how no matter how much control you have over your emotions, you're still affected by it. Whether that flight or fight still kicks in your head. So I mean, I'm watching myself talking about dislikes and cursing and being aggressive and being this basically an asshole douchebag, and I'm hearing myself. I'm like, geez, what the heck, you know? And I just remember I could barely remember the mood I'm in. I had a friend ask me about it actually, if everything was all right, and I was just making mountain out of molehills, and I was just being silly, and I was being emotional, I guess you could say. But going back to this topic of this guy, the car rolls up to him. He gets really mad, and then like in a split second, or not split second, but just like in a turn of a dime, he apologizes. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know," and I'm sort of wondering, what do you think happened, right? Because that's basically what happened. He drove the car, the Prius drove up. I guess it almost hit him. The guy got really upset, the employee, and what happened later was he apologized, right? So there's something that happened that he said that sort of like, I guess, surprised him or shocked him. So I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to make another tangent here. This is book. It's called Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and it's a really good book. But in the story, there's this story, okay, of a man on a subway, and he has like kids, like two or three kids, and they're just screaming, right? And he's just sort of like minding. He's like his head is in he's just like kind of like staring into nowhere, right? He's like in nowhere zone. This guy, with his kids going crazy, making loud noises, and then one of the bystanders there, one of the passengers on the train or the subway, one of them's getting really irritated, It's like, man, why can't you control your kid? That's what he's thinking. So he finally just can't tolerate it anymore and says to him, "Hey, sir, do you mind, um, you know, do you mind like getting a hold of your kids? They're really loud and whatnot." And then the dad, sort of like staring, kind of zoning out, was sort of like he goes and says, "Yeah, oh, wow, I'm so sorry. I really am so sorry about that. I'm just their mom just died in the hospital, and I'm just sort of like kind of putting myself together. I'm very sorry." And then in that moment, as you can tell, the man asking the guy felt horrible, right? He's telling him, you know, control your kids. You're getting on my nerves. And then the guy tells him that his wife just died or their mother just died, and he just has this shift in his head, right? He goes, "Oh my God, what the heck happened?" You know, it's like I feel like an idiot. I feel like a douchebag because I'm complaining about these kids. You just lost your wife, or you lost your kid's mother, and that's kind of in a different way. It's what happened in this video, right? It's sort of like something happened that he said that in the car that sort of shocked him, right? And I'm wondering what it is. And you might be wondering, why am I talking about it? I don't know. I find it interesting. I find it interesting how I respond to things. Basically, I find it interesting how I respond to things, but don't understand why. You know, because there's so much of that stuff that happens. You know, why do you feel mad about something? Why do you feel sad about something? Why do you feel the way you do? Often it's just like a reaction, right? So I like this feeling because what it is, it's a specific emotion or a specific state of mind, which is curiosity. Curiosity, I think, in my opinion, is one of the most productive states of mind. You're curious. You just want to know what's happening. You want to know the truth, versus being defensive or fight or flight, right? And the part that I'm interested in, two things. I'm just curious to know what he said, right? I made this joke to my wife. I said, maybe he was blind, you know, and he couldn't see. And then my wife started laughing. But I don't know. I just was thinking of something outrageous, right? And I'm continuing to bring this up because, first of all, I want to know what happened, right? The second part is I'm curious to know how I felt, because the moment I heard him saying "fuck you" and like "what the fuck is your problem," I could feel my kind of fight or flight emotions kick in. You know, I'm here with my family. I mean, he's like 30 feet away. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, you know, I have this feeling of like, oh shit, what I'm gonna do, right? Or I need to get ready to do something, right? And it's so fast. It happens so quickly, right? I'm just thinking in my head, what's the worst thing that can happen? Someone's gonna pull out a gun, right? That's sort of like what goes through in my head, right? When you're that's what happens when you're older, right? You start to you become cultured by TV and the news and Facebook, and you start to have more images of the worst thing that can possibly happen. I think that's the reason why old people are the way they are. They know too much, and the things that stand out in your head are the most fearful things. And then you think about a young kid. Do they get scared? They don't even. They're probably more curious. They feel the fear, but they don't, because they're so young. Like even someone who's like 15 or younger, they don't have a lot to process other than, you know, of course there might be a little bit they could be scared, but they don't have the same depth of knowledge or information and maturity to sort of gravitate from all the news that you've consumed over the years, especially with what happened in Vegas. You just kind of have all this stuff in your head. And I want to know what you think. What do you think he said, right? What do you think the guy said? It's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know what he said. It just seems so weird to me. He clearly overreacted. I mean, you can tell in the video that he did say, what did he say? He said, I think you and I can both agree. And you can't really tell what he says after that. But I bet I'm going to fill in the blank, and this is what I think he said. I bet you and I can both agree that I overreacted. You know, that's sort of what I feel. You know, I didn't know why you were doing what you were doing, and I'm sorry. You know, and he apologized. So, and I think it's so cool that he was, and my wife was like saying, I'm surprised that he turned on the dime so fast. But clearly something surprised him. But I think that's there's so much value in that, because to admit that you're wrong about something is the most difficult thing to do. Anyways, that was just a random thing that happened in my day. Thanks for watching. But I'm curious to know, what do you think he said? What is your theory? I'll play the video here at the end again, just by itself, just to end the video. Thanks for watching.
I'm sorry. I dig it. No, you're fine. But we're holding up traffic. You're a good man. Thank you.